Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar session, Women Behind the Operations of Europe's VC and PE Funds. I'm Ucha from Startup Adventures, and today I'm joined by these four amazing individuals from ACE Alternative team, Johanna von Herman, Johanna Rolf, Stephanie von Behr, and Natalia Naumova. I'm really excited for this conversation because throughout the next hour or so, we will dive deeper in the topic and explore all about the role of women in the mysterious world of VC. So, without further ado, let's kick off this session and ask our guests to give short introductions of themselves and their roles in the company, shall we? Let's do it. Johanna, maybe you can go first. Johanna H.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me and us on this webinar today. It's an honor to be with you. So, you would like to hear about a little bit more about me and my experiences that brought me to that position. So I have a VC background. I worked for a Munich-based VC where I learned all the skills that are pretty important to get into this position and to run this position properly. But not only that, when I was something like 18, I started investing first on the stock market and learned on all that stuff that needs to be done in order to proper investments and to grow my portfolio. I joined ACE in May 2024, exactly, as a key account manager. And since then, having my own clients and making our service day by day better for our clients.
Very interesting. Let's carry on with Johanna R.
Well, at first, thank you as well from my side. So I started my career with a dual study program in a regional savings bank. And after that, I was looking for something else except sales. And then I ended up in a fund administration. I worked 4.5 years for another fund admin and was responsible for the whole customer journey there. Now, for a bit less than half a year, I am working for ACE Alternatives in the role as Senior Key Account Manager.
That's amazing. Next up, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, super happy to be here and be in this room with all these amazing women that I get to work with every day. So my background is a little bit different. Actually, I have a background in the arts, but very soon after moving here over a decade ago, I started my own business trying to solve the pain points for moms who are new to a city and need help to find friends and community. And from that business, I really got very engaged into the startup ecosystem here. And from that point forward, just realized how unequal it is for women who are raising venture capital, like myself back in the day, and wanted to do more to help more women founders. So I became a mentor. I started working at a fund. Really, I was the director of strategy there. And my role was really to think about how can we get more women, how can we get more capital in the hands of women founders, especially at the early stage. And so that's been sort of my passion from day one. And how did I get here? Well, the last 4 years, I was managing director of a organization called Founderland, supporting women founders across Europe. And I really wanted to get more into the back office. So what happens in a fund, really? Like, I knew a lot about the venture capital side from an investor side, but not really the back office. And so that's what we're doing here at ACE. We're doing all the operations and admin for our VC and private equity. And in my role, I'm also a client, senior operations manager at ACE. So we'll dig more into that later. I guess it's you, Natalia.
Absolutely. Yeah. And lastly, let's go with Natalia.
Hi. From my end as well. Happy to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. In over a decade of experience, it initially started from accounting. It gave me a strong foundation in understanding of financial operations overall, which became a solid base, let's say, for my future development. And then over time, I expanded my expertise by working for both private equity and venture capital funds. And then, so that provided me a holistic understanding of the industry itself from different perspectives.
That's amazing. And I really can't wait to explore more about what all of you do. But first, let's kick off this conversation by talking about the critical role of operations in the success of Europe's VC and PE funds. So to make sure everything is clear for our audience, could you please define what is back office / operations in venture capital and private equity? Johanna, this question will be directed to you.
Yeah. So it's interesting that it is called crucial, right? Because it's self-explaining that if you would like to run a company and you can consider a venture capital fund as well as a private equity fund as a company. And in order to run a company properly, you have to have the proper backbone. And that's it in this regard, to have proper accounting in place, to have proper operations in place, and to have proper compliance as well as ESG. But the first three topics are pretty relevant to all the funds in order to be able to execute, on the one hand, the stakeholder, to provide the stakeholders, on the one hand, the LPs, and on the other hand, the portfolio companies properly, and to have of course, all the numbers in place, because it's not only a people business, but it's a number game. And therefore it's pretty crucial to run the numbers properly and correct. And this is the backbone of all the funds in order to get their stuff in place.
Absolutely, 100%. And what can you tell us about the importance of back office roles, and how does it ensure success? Natalia, in this case, I would ask you.
How I like to say, we allow the GPs to do what they do the best, fundraising and deploying funds, and we fill in this gap in between these 2 points. Back office roles are the backbone of any organization, in my opinion, and especially in private equity and venture funds. Though behind the scenes, we ensure accuracy, compliance, and efficiency in financial reporting, fund administration, such as executing the lifecycle events or preparing the portfolio analysis. But it's not only that. A well-structured back office supports decision-making, including the cash liquidity management, for example, meets the regulatory demands and builds investor trust. By streamlining operations and managing the risks, it allows the front office to focus on strategy and growth. And in short, a strong back office drives operational excellence and long-term success of the organization.
And Stephanie, I have next question to you. Let's talk about general statistics, right? What is the general ratio of women representation in these roles, meaning like what we spoke before, versus front office roles?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really know about back office, and I did a little bit of research before the show because I knew you were going to be asking me about statistics, and there just isn't much. But what I do know is that in Europe, only 16% of partners in venture capital of women are partners in VC. So it gets a little bit better every year, a teeny tiny bit, but it's still pretty grim. And I think I wanted to also just add one more thing to what Natalia said about kind of zooming out to the audience about what we're doing at ACE. It's like, imagine you have this VC, they have tons of life cycle events, they have to do capital calls, they have to call capital from their limited partners. They have, throughout the year, they're making investments and then they're calling the capital. Now, who would actually do that administrative role? If they did it on their own, that's really a lot of work, because it's not only just the actual conversation or the emailing, the communication with the LPs, but it's also all the calculations, all of the accounting. So I'm just trying to think about the audience. If they don't know so much about VC in particular, maybe that's helpful for them to hear.
Totally, yeah. I absolutely agree to assume that audience might not really know about VC. I myself really tried to, learn this mysterious field of VC for years and years, and it's still very hard to, get a grip on it. But continuing on this topic, I'd really like to dive more into the role of women in elevating key account management and capital operations in European VC and private equity funds. Could you share some impactful stories of women leading operations innovation? Johanna H., if you could take the stage for this.
Yes, are there so many impactful stories? Not that much since, and Steph has already mentioned it, that there are not that many ladies in that space. Because there is no dedicated profile that you can really reach out with, and then you can tell, hey guys, hey ladies out there, join this area and ecosystem. So it's on us to create the impactful stories. And I'd say we try to do it every day when it comes to making our clients happy. And I really feel that it's a matter of trust. And I think women are very good in creating trust in this role, because this is the clients rely on us, right? They rely on our responsibility, ownership, and that we take not only our job responsible, really careful and diligent, but as well. And this is what the market, when I grew up, many men, especially men, had let's say attitude that women can't deal with numbers. Women and math, no, they can't go together. And there I see a good change in the market that as well men, if you are talking about numbers, if you are talking about calculations, they trust you. They don't look at you that it's only a lady, but they really trust you. And this is a really good development that I can see out there, and that creates success stories.
Absolutely, yeah. Stefan, if you could add on this topic, if you have any good examples, given that, as I know, you're a mentor in Women for VC, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So Johanna von Herman and I are both part of a organization or a community it used to be called Women Venture Capital Europe, but now they just had a new rebranding, and they're called Unlock VC. And essentially it's a group of women who are either angel investors or venture capital investors, from small tickets of 5,000 to working at a VC and doing much larger tickets. But we all support each other. We have a WhatsApp channel and we share job opportunities. We share events. When someone's in the same city, we meet up, peer learning. And I think, like, as far as women in the space go, there's a lot of communities that we can be part of and that we can rely on. And I think for women out there who are listening to this and who are trying to, level up their careers, definitely join one of these communities, and don't just listen in the WhatsApp chats, but add value, and then you will always get something back.
Of course, yes. And the link of the community will be in the description below, so make sure to find it out. But actually following up on this, what are the biggest challenges that women typically face in this role? And not only in these roles, but generally in the VC field. Johanna H., if you could answer that.
Me or Johanna Rolf? I would hand over to Johanna because I spoke already too much.
But you're more experienced in the leadership role, maybe. But okay.
Is it about leadership or is it about a general? So depending on if you are aiming at the let's say the job itself or on our role as women, what do you aim at? Women or the content?
Like women in the VC field, basically.
Yeah, I think so. In our space, as I've mentioned already, there I really see a good progress, especially at ACE, because we had a call before we joined now the webinar, and our chef mentioned men are already in, let's say, in minority at ACE. And it's really the case. We have got more women on board than we do have men. So there it turns into a space where really more women have a good perspective to grow their career, to grow their expertise, because it's so varied. When we look into the other side of the table, into the VC and PE space, there, as Stephanie already has mentioned it, more and more people as well, and ladies diving into the space. However, the leaders and the people who have the execution power are yet, from majority perspective, men. And this is not the only space where it's yet the case. When we look out there into the market, into the economies, still in the majority of the large companies and holdings, men have got the power and are the decision makers. So the question is always, and this is what we discuss internally a lot, what does it take that more women are in these leadership positions? And that's really independent of if it's VC or not. The biggest hurdle is that it's so difficult to combine private life, especially raising the children, with working, because you don't have a 5 to 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 5 to 9, 9 to 5 job. This you need to be sure about. If you would like to dive into this space, you need to be aware, need to be eager to work a lot. And therefore, it's not an easy one to combine both without having all the time having a, let's say, what's it called? I don't know the right expression for it in English. So bad feelings, so that you can't cover both at the same time and doing well. And therefore, many women say, okay, I'm fine with what I do, but to go the next step, am I really eager about it, or am I fine? Do I want to really grow my career and being that ambitious? Maybe not.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Yes, of course.
I would say, because I've been in this space talking about this topic for a while and I've thought a lot about it. And I think, the old me used to think, okay, when we would talk about this topic, like, why is it that women and men, first of all, aren't getting the same amount of VC capital? Women get only 2% of venture capital on the whole. And why are there so few women in executive decision-making roles in venture capital? And I think a lot of it has to do with the systems. So the systems in place are this, we have to work all the time. Then that is not compatible with a mother. This is not compatible with a father either. With any person who wants to care for any other person, you cannot work 24 hours a day. So there's been a lot of conversations about how do we restructure that system and not grind ourselves to the ground and burn out. And for me, at my age, I think it's more about boundaries. It's the people who are working all night. I don't think that they're necessarily the best workers. I think they are not organizing their day properly. And I think that there has been a shift about this in the space. And actually, like my ex-co-founder, Alina from Founderland, she had a baby while she was a managing director with us. Then she started working at Ananda VC. And we've been talking a lot, like, how's your hours? How's this? How's that? And she said, for her, it's actually much more flexible working in VC, because if there's a deal going on, then it's a lot of work, but then it's calmer. So I think it's all about like the perspective and how you organize yourself. And if the senior people in your company are respectful and understand that people have families, then you're in the right place. And if you're not, and you're a mother and you're working for someone who doesn't understand that, then get out, because you're going to burn yourself out, and your health is the most important thing.
100%. Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you said about organization. It applies to everybody, because people, for some reason, like to romanticize this idea of working 24/7, but it actually means that you don't know how to work efficiently, and you must first learn that. But to wrap up this topic, Johanna, our next question is coming to you. Tell us how women drive meaningful change in fund management and operations from your experience.
In my experience, they have pushed revolution in processes and efficiency. So in introducing more structured workflows or advanced automation, also in innovative project management practices, and in leading to increase transparency. Also in reducing errors and enhancing efficiency in fund operations. And also women have created initiatives to create more inclusive workshops and workplaces, and also ensuring that diverse perspectives are represented.
Right, so the community is very supportive of each other. And
Yes.
that's what's important.
So, for example, the transparency and also the diversity thing, I think the women are stronger in this than men.
Totally, yes. And now let's move on, perhaps maybe more interesting part of the session, and talk about your personal stories in this field. How have you entered and thrived in VC or private equity back office roles? Natalia, this question will be directed to you. You did mention in the beginning, how did you get started? But maybe if you could expand and tell us more.
Yeah. Okay, I managed to unmute myself. That's already a good start. I have more than 10 years of experience in finance. I studied finance. I was always passionate about finance. Johanna, Herman also mentioned that men used to always question, like, making those faces like women and math. But yeah, probably I was maybe wanted to challenge this stereotype. And it's my mother, she's an accountant. Also, she's in finance for her whole life almost. And I was inspired watching her doing your business and how professional she is and knows all the answers and how to react quickly to different situations. And I think it's also about the mindset. I am good at finding different solutions, adapting to like fast changing environments, adaptability. So it's like personal skill sets as well. And I am good at math and I am good with numbers and Excel and everything. So, and I have analytical mindsets. It's like a compilation of all those factors, I think, brought me here and how I ended up in the VC world. So yeah, I started in private, like I worked in different sectors, tried few fields, what is more interesting for me. And then I worked for private equity company and one venture capital funds itself. And it was just, it evolved gradually. And I ended up like I gained expertise from different areas. It was just at some point logical development for me to enter. It's interesting. Every day you're doing something new. And another great thing is that I also like to say that startup is not for everyone. Because some people, they do really appreciate stability in life and when everything is predictable. And here, I really like that we have a possibility to shape kind of the future because we are a fintech company. We work apart from delivering high quality service to our clients. We developing our software and platforms. So we work on increasing efficiency day by day and looking for those solutions, implementing AI, everything. So it's fascinating, honestly. Really, I hope I answered the question.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very inspiring to hear it, actually. But Johanna R., maybe you could tell your side of the story. How did you enter in this?
Yeah, of course. So I also liked math and analytical stuff in school a lot. And yeah, I don't like languages or other stuff so much. So for me, all starts with a dual study program at my regional bank. And then I quickly realized that I didn't see myself in sales positions. So yeah, during my studies, I was then drawn to the topic of startup financing and I liked it a lot. Yeah, when I then started looking for alternatives to the bank or to corporations, then I came across the position in the fund administration for a fund controlling position. And then I started there 5 years ago. And I really enjoyed it from the very beginning, especially the collaborative partnership with the clients. So the variety of challenges you face every day with all the different clients, and also that you can give them little advices how to deal with some problems or find solutions. And then, yeah, the role is so that you constantly grow and become more and more confident over the time. And then I think it's very important and to don't be shy to offering alternative ideas or counter arguments. Yeah, I think because I enjoyed the work so much, and I drove deeper into the topics, worked on improving processes, and all above focus on making my clients happy with 150% service and productivity. So yeah, I think that's why I'm here today.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. So it seems like it was all about continuous learning and implementing those learnings to the processes. Amazing. And now, Stephanie, moving on to you. So what challenges have you faced throughout your journey and how have you overcome them?
Generally speaking, or days?
Well, career-wise.
Okay. Well, I think, we always, when one starts their career, they always think it's going to be a straight line. And actually it's a lot of peaks and valleys, which is in hindsight, looks like it all makes sense. But while I was going through these steps, it didn't really feel like that. So I think there's been a lot of pain in my journey, a lot of trying to figure out what are my superpowers? How can I use them in the best way possible? What am I good at? What am I not so good at? What is my zone of expertise, my zone of genius? And I think I'm a creative person. I'm really good with people, but I'm also strategic. So for me, being able to flex the strategic part of my brain when I started my first business was like an awakening, like a super aha moment. I was like, wow, making art and thinking about complicated topics, because when I made art, it was really about like, how do we as women look at pop culture to inform ourselves on who we are? Like, how much influence does popular culture have on us? And so there was still a lot of thinking that went into it. But then when you start a business, you have a problem, you have a pain point. Okay, women, moms, they don't have anywhere to go. They're allocated to these crappy kinder cafes, which has bad food, bad coffee. How can I improve this situation? Okay, then you try to solve that in a much more complex way. You have to get customers, you have to get buy-in, you have to get partners, you have to grow the business. And there's so many different levels. And for me, this was like I vibrated on this. I was like, I can do all of this. I want to do all of this. But at the same time, the journey wasn't so easy. I can look back and say like, oh, that sounds so great, but it was really hard. It was hard raising capital. It was hard dealing with my co-founder at first because I didn't have these amazing communication skills that I have now. It was a lot of work going with a business coach, many business coaches, co-founder counseling, all the things that got me to where I am. And experience, you can't buy that. It's just time doing something. So I guess, yeah, to answer your question, I think that for me now, to follow on what Natalia and Johanna Rolf said about where they got to today, I think it's really about what do I do well and what am I good at and how can I use that in the best way and share those gifts with the world to make our clients' lives better, my life better, because I feel like I'm doing something that makes sense and is meaningful. And that to me is how I feel right now at ACE. And I also love that every day is different and the clients are all different personalities, and you get to then flex different parts of your personality with them. So yeah, to long-winded answer to your question, that's my answer.
Again, very, very inspiring. And Johanna H, yeah, maybe you could share the challenges that you have faced throughout your journey, and similarly, how have you overcome them?
Yeah, there were several. There were really several because that's the journey I went through I always say I have a cross-country CV. When you would like to, as Steph mentioned, I really don't need to think about any red line throughout my journey, but that makes us so rich. So the biggest challenges I have faced was the fact that that sounds a little bit crazy, but I raised or I'm yet a process of raising 3 children, and therefore I spent 10 years at home. And after 10 years, so I grew my career beforehand, but there I wasn't that ambitious. I thought, okay, the jobs I did, I worked for an American law firm, I worked for a tech company, I worked for the UniCredit, so totally different topics. Initially, I started something like event management. It's called international culture management. So nobody does have any picture out of Germany what that is about, but doesn't matter. So something totally different than I do now, because my father always told me, said, no, she can't do with numbers. Therefore, I never thought about numbers. So after I got separated from my husband, then I stood there with 3 young children. The youngest wasn't yet 3, and need to decide what to do now after being out of, let's say, not out of order, but out of any job for 10 years. And then I started step by step. I started with a project management, companies advising startups becoming a mentor. And therefore, I then realized, okay, if you have found something that you really like, that suddenly can, raise feelings inside yourself, that be something like starting to be ambitious. And then one thing happened suddenly to the other, that I went into the VC space, got to know people who worked there, looped me in, and then they realized, as I realized, that that's totally wrong, not being able to deal with numbers and to work properly in this space. And so I learned my hoops, and I really decided from that point in time, if you would like to grow your career, you have to work pretty hard, because others did that during these 10 years. And now then I've started very light with this. I wanted to, of course, grow that in a short period of time, in a much shorter period of time than they did. So these were pretty huge challenges, as well as, of course, at the beginning when you are out of let's say the working world, working ecosystem, and you start again. Of course, you earn much less. And therefore, you have to perform first in order to convince the people, hey, even though I was out of it for 10 years, of course, I, in a much shorter time, can learn what they have learned over 10 years. And that is what brought me then to the position at ACE. And of course, having had the chance to meet people who really trust in the skills you bring to the table. And that is the other challenge, to meet people who trust in the skills that you bring to the table. Because you can't show it on your CV. And these, I would say, were really the major challenges. You always have to deliver first until you can really force people to trust in you.
Absolutely. Yeah, very inspiring again. And I see your career journey has been full of persistence.
Yeah.
It has definitely paid off.
Yeah.
But as we all know, getting started in this career field might be a little bit challenging, not a little bit, very challenging, as we hear from your stories. So could you share some advice on breaking into the industry and kicking off a career in this field? And this question goes to all of you. So what are the essential skills to master in this case? And what tips would you share about starting out career in similar roles as you? Let's start off with Stephanie first.
Thank you. Yeah, so I agree. It's very hard to break into VC, and I was unsure if it was something I wanted to do, but I was kind of in a parallel field. So I was helping founders raise venture capital. I was running an accelerator to help them raise venture capital. And at the same time, I wanted to see if it was something that was interesting to me. Would I want to actually work in VC? And so I applied for an apprenticeship through Backstage Capital. It's an American VC, and it was an 11-month program. It was quite prestigious. So they accepted, I think, I don't know, maybe 10% or less than 10% of the people who applied. And you have an interview, and then you learned a lot from someone who started her own fund for the last, and has been doing it for 10 years. And really, it was like an ask me anything every single week to her, Arlen Hamilton. So that for me so I can highly recommend doing a program, doing an apprenticeship or an internship if you're early stage in your career, because I think it's really, it is quite hard to break into unless you have a foot in the door.
Yes, I'm sure many people can relate to that working in VC. But Natalia, what would be your advice?
I completely agree with Stephanie. Of course, that's crucial and would really help to kick off this career journey if you want to break into the VC world, VC field. Of course, it is about skill set. Like I would say proactive mindsets would really help, because it's really fast changing and competitive in a way environment. And yes, overall learning attitudes, it is important, of course, because you can provide better service, resilience, flexibility, everything. So I would suggest advice to grow both personal and technical expertise, being on edge, let's say, what are the new technical solutions that can be implemented, what's new in the market, etc. But on the other hand, because the webinar is women in VC world, right? So our target audience are still the girls who are out there looking for maybe advice, inspiration, opportunities, etc. I would say to everyone out there who is listening to us or watching us talking, I would say do not compete with men. So it's not a gender competition. Although this is unequal, like Stephanie mentioned it, Johanna mentioned it, of course that's true, but it's not overall, it's not about competition, right? So we have our own way. We don't have to become men or be better or be worse. Like we are just women, they are men. We have different like maybe skill set. We all have our different skills that we can bring on the table, leverage and use in a different kind of ways and perspective, and working together, collaborating. There's diversity bring synergy in the end. So we don't have to compete and prove that, I don't know, I can earn more than this guy that's sit next to me or whatever. No, it's not about that. Grow, develop, and be a better version of yourself, not comparing yourself to anyone else, whether it's a girl or a boy or but
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's all about diversity. As
it
many
is.
different opinions and backgrounds we have, better for the achieving our goals. But Johanna R, maybe you could share your opinions about this.
Yeah, of course. So at first, I totally agree with Steph and Natalia. There's not the one way how to get there in the VC world. So my advices are be proactive, don't let yourself be dismissed, and dare to openly share your ideas and to push them forward in showing everyone the advantages from your ideas, and maybe sometimes go and annoy your leaders with your ideas. It helps a lot, and it helps to be in their minds. And also one piece of advice that has stayed with me since my second week of my training in the bank was please try to answer your questions yourself before asking other people. And I would say it really took I really took this into my heart. And from this moment on, I was always trying to find answers on my own, and it helped me to grow and develop myself. So that's why I can only pass this advice to everyone else. And the last thing, enjoy what you do. And I think this is very important.
Yes, enjoy the process, trust what you do, and trust yourself, most importantly. Very good. And finally, Johanna H.
Yeah, from my experience now over the years, I would say if women would like to dive into the VC space, it's recommendable to have been on the other side of the table. As that said, at best to run a company yourself, because on the one hand, you need to have an entrepreneurial thinking, because it's not only about deploying the money, but as well about to advise and to guide the companies you have invested in. And therefore, it's always good to have been on the other side. What does it mean to grow a company yourself, and at best to exit it successfully? What does it mean to lead a company, and not only to lead a company, but to lead people, to motivate people so that they do the stuff you would like them to do? And what in terms of getting a good feeling of the selection of the targets you would like to invest in. Is there really a need in the market? And therefore, if you have grown a company yourself, you get all these skills. You grow the skills your own in order to be, of course, then be seen accordingly when it comes to investing into the companies. So this is pretty important, and the overall entrepreneurial thinking on how you would like to grow and run the fund, because you don't want to be only a simple employee. Maybe you would, but I think the ladies who would like to dive into the VC space have a greater picture in mind. And all that is pretty, I would recommend it. And of course, being brave and not being anxious to work with, let's say, dominantly men. So I would like to be there. I'm happy to be part of that team, and I consider it as a good opportunity as well for the men to have a diverse team, as you have mentioned it already, because this is what all of us think, and men as well agree. The mixed teams are the most successful teams on both sides, on a company side, on a startup side, as well as on the fund side. And that makes it really valuable, and that leads to the fact that everybody sees that funds that are led by mixed teams are much more successful than only women-led teams, as well as or neither only men-led teams.
Yes, absolutely. So have courage, experience different sides of the story, and just go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
In a diverse setting. Yes, so I would really like to thank all of you very much for joining this session. I think it was really interesting to hear insights from all of you. Also, on the other side, I would like to thank everybody for tuning into this episode. If you'd like to learn more about this topic, be sure to check out Women in VC homepage and learn more about this global community by contacting contacting them, our guests. I'm sure they will be happy to answer all of your questions. Also check Ace Alternatives to see what they have to offer, and follow them on social media to see more informative content like this. If you have any questions, I'm sure the team would be more than happy to answer you in everything and assist you. Actually, Ace Alternatives is planning some very interesting webinar sessions in the future about compliance. There's also EU VC roundtable and etc. So make sure to follow. So we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.